We're going to start.
Yes, start.
Very good evening. We have just received the information that Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has stepped down. He has decided to tender his resignation. And this obviously creates a lot of political uncertainty in the state. There is uncertainty over the Grand Alliance, the fate of the coalition government. And the state seems to be heading for a spell of president's rule. And then for fresh polarizations, we will have to wait. So we have the editor-in-chief of National Herald, and this is Uttam Sakupta. I'm an executive editor of the National Herald, and we are going to discuss and take some of your questions on the Bihar situation. Thank you. So, Dilabji, what do you think happened? Was this on the cards? Was it the writing on the wall clear?
It was on the cards, and the basic point which Nitish wanted to make was he was, of course, in the danger of a split in JDU. So the basic point he wanted to make was take a high moral ground, try and save his party, because the splitting at this juncture would require at least 2/3 MLAs. And he knows that there is resentment among the Yadav MLAs in his party. There is resentment among the Muslims who are scared of BJP for natural reasons, and also some other OBCs. And because Lalu also played the Mayawati hand very well, he immediately offered Mayawati a seat from Bihar for the Rajya Sabha. So Mayawati, because of Mayawati and because of that hand Lalu played, there is also a consolidation of Dalit opinion in favor of the alliance. Now, and Nitish would never be sure of when the BJP would dump him. So, and if the BJP decided to dump him, then all the upper caste MLAs would go with the BJP in that case. So his party was in the danger of getting disintegrated. And this is, because he's letting Lalu and the alliance form the government, probably.
But one question that I would like to ask is that was he left with any option? Did he have an option, or did he find himself boxed?
He found himself boxed because once he had taken the stand that he did, and he did not look at the FIR in particular. And there are reasons, because he was feeling boxed also by Lalu Yadav in a different way. We all know that Lalu is domineering and has a domineering personality. And Nitish probably thought that governance was becoming difficult in that sense. So he took this way out. This was his escape route. And of course, he played into the hands of, that way I would say, Amit Shah and Narendra Modi. The way Narendra Modi has quickly reacted and offered him support.
I cannot help thinking that Lalu Yadav is also to be blamed greatly, because if he had not insisted on two of his sons getting a place in the cabinet, and making Tejasvi Yadav your deputy chief minister, all these problems probably would not have arisen.
Yeah. Lalu did not go the extra mile in saving the alliance.
Yes.
And he could have done that. It won't have harmed him or his children's political career.
Frankly, the FIR against Tejasvi Yadav, in which the CBI names Tejasvi Yadav as an accused, does not have a single line against him. So, in all probability, the case against him would collapse. Now, I think politically it was more prudent for Tejasvi Yadav to step down. For 6 months or 4 months or 7 months. Yeah. Why didn't he give Nitish that face saver?
That is in the nature of Lalu's personality. When you think of politics, you cannot divorce it from personalities who are players in that politics. And Lalu is not made that way. Simply, he tried to resist even at the height of Fodder's scam. He tried to resist to the last bit. Giving up chief ministership, and when he did, it was his wife. He who was an apolitical person.
This is something that we have seen Lalu Yadav doing throughout his career. That he himself is a very astute politician. He understands politics. He understands the perception battle which he has to wage. But he always seems to have given to pressure from within the family. That seems to be one of the weaknesses. But what do you foresee now? I mean,
I foresee a short spell of president's rule because for things to work out, that period is necessary. And probably probably Amit Shah and Narendra Modi have scripted it that way, because they know that at this juncture, I mean, it's impossible. Even if they extend outside support to Nitish Kumar, he can't cobble up a majority. So the only group which can cobble up majority is the RJD plus Congress. So that way, and if to go by constitutional propriety, which this government has not, central government has not always followed, they would have to invite RJD because it's the single largest party.
Give them a chance.
Give them a chance to form the government, and they can easily form the government if if they and the Congress have an understanding, if RJD and the Congress have an understanding, because
they will even then fall short.
They will fall short. But if that's, if they are they also have an alternative script, which I'm sure Lalu Yadav would have, even if Congress doesn't have, is of splitting the JDU, in which Sharad Yadav can play a role, especially with the 11.
So the big question is that which party is going to split?
Which party
is the RJD going to split?
Yeah.
Or is it the
So if Nitish Kumar takes the stand that he has to save his party, and he just says whoever forms the government will abstain, then the alliance might have a chance. And that would also leave Nitish's options open. And that's in 6 months down the line, for instance, he would still be free to get either into this alliance or that alliance, depending on the political situation then. Of course, this won't be to the BJP's liking, but Nitish has to think of his to weigh the options.
But the BJP will be the happiest today.
Yeah, what Nitish is risking is basically a disintegration of the vote support that he had. That is going to stay even if his party doesn't split. Because there is a great deal of resentment between Yadavs and Muslims. And that will now solidify into a vote block for the RJD and the Congress.
You foresee
plus if Mayawati towards Bihar, then might be Dalits, unless Nitish plays a Mahadalit and deftly meaning there are some rumors from JDU that probably if Nitish gets a chance, say 3-4 months down the line to form the government with outside support from BJP, then probably the deputy chief minister would be a Mahadalit. That is his only option, his only fallback at the moment in terms of this.
We keep on reading about coalition now. Here is a grand alliance which came to power against all odds. And it seems as if the Nitish Kumar and RJD chief, Lalu Prasad, they were not even on talking terms. They seem to be not talking to each other.
It's because therein lay a conflict. The conflict was Nitish's political ambitions now, which transcended beyond the state. Though he kept saying that he was not interested in anything beyond Bihar. And even today he has made those noises saying that whatever would be in the interest of Bihar, I will do whatever Bihar asks me to do.
That is sacrifice of the Prime Minister if necessary.
He doesn't say that. He has been denying that all along. But that had been his ambition. Now that he has played his role in Bihar, he thought, according to him, and his self-image is that of an astute administrator. So he thought since now he has succeeded administratively, he is the natural choice for the alliance to project him as the next prime minister. But as it is, this alliance, which is still not come into existence at the national level, would have many claimants. Why only Nitish Kumar? But he wanted Congress's shoulders basically at this point of time to catapult him into that race.
He wanted the opposition to declare him as the prime minister candidate.
Yeah, an unsaid desire which people close to him would hint at those desires. So he wanted a larger role beyond Bihar, which was not coming at the pace it was, and it was in Lalu's interest to keep him confined to Bihar.
But some would say that Lalu would have been happy enough to see his back, Nitish Kumar's back.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because there is a history between them, and that history, at the base of that history is also the caste rivalry between these two major OBC castes, Yadavs and Kurmis.
The Kurmis are hardly 2-3%.
Yeah, they are 2-3%. So Lalu won't like to be dictated terms by a Kurmi or a person who is there because of that vote bank.
Is this resignation going to help Nitish, achieve his goal of occupying center stage at the national level?
It's a gamble he has played. It's a gamble because somewhere at the back of his mind, which again I keep hearing, is that Narendra Modi, because of what he's doing and because of what the BJP regime is doing at the center now with all these lynchings and all, it might not, if there is public resentment against the BJP, it might not be able to form a government on its own. It might not get a majority of its own in the next election, and it might fall short. And that is Nitish Kumar's calculation. I'm not saying whether it's correct or not. It might fall short of majority, and then it would need allies. Narendra Modi won't want anybody from the BJP to take that position, prime ministership, and others also won't like then Narendra Modi to become in the BJP.
It is still too early to speculate.
To speculate on that, but it's a gamble he has played. This is a gamble in which stakes are loaded against him. But if he wins it big. Otherwise, he loses.
Who are the losers? Is Bihar the loser?
Bihar would be a loser. Now we are in for a spell of instability. And because also of this polarization, which we see elsewhere in the country, in Bihar, this could be much more violent also than in the rest of the country. So if this polarization among the people, this division among the people takes shape once again along caste lines and along religious lines, then
I have not been following Bihar all that closely in the last few years. But one question that arises is that is Nitish trying to sort of get away from Bihar because he has been unable to deliver on his promises?
In this term, yes, he has been unable to deliver on his promises. People who come from Bihar, they say that, roads are not in the shape they were. And, there are
civic administration has collapsed.
So many other things have happened. And
bad shape,
And of course, in his mind, he blames Lalu Yadav for that. So he wants to get away from it all. And that is why, for a time being, he also tried to push this agenda of prohibition, to divert people's minds from these issues.
That is becoming very serious. It is losing revenue and he doesn't have the money.
And one thing which is alienating the Dalits also is this policy of prohibition. Because most of them, since Bihar doesn't have any industries and means of livelihood, many sections among the Dalits, they depend for their livelihood on country liquor.
The first person to get convicted is also a Dalit.
And faced very harsh punishment. The upper classes, the upper castes get away. They can have their scotch anytime they want. So they can go to Nepal and
Interesting. So on that note, I think we can wait for tomorrow morning and find out what happens in Bihar.
interesting times for Bihar
Yes.
also in Chinese.
Whether the coalition remains, whether
As the
RJD
Chinese
gets a
say,
chance to
yeah.
form the government, or whether Amit Shah wins. Yes, politically it's a very interesting time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.